rips one into the night, deep into right, way out.
Moves to the right, it goes directly to Clement. Clement reverses it, and the pass goes into the end zone.
To Nick Foles.
It's a touchdown by Nick.
He scores! Pete Primo is able to win it, and the Flyers win the title.
Can he get it off? Yes! And the Sixers win it!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Talkin 2 and 5. Join with me, as always, my man Sean. Sean, how we doing, brother?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back. Jake.
We're so happy to have you back. And some of the long-time listeners will recognize Ben Silver from Phillies SI on the pod, and everybody knows in the previous episodes that we've done with him, he really, really knows his stuff. So we've been definitely talking to him for a while on this one. I've been really excited to have him back on, especially. Well, this will be the first time of this Philly season, so we've got plenty to talk about, I think.
Oh my God, that's insane. Well,
we talked about like our off-season wish list last time.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, it has been too long. Yeah. Well, when the Phillies are the only thing that you focus on night and day, you better know some shit about them.
Yeah. No kidding. So yeah, we got Ben Silver back, Sean here in the booth. I apologize to any listeners out there. I'm a little under the weather. Typically, Sean will be sitting right to my side here. But if I need Sean to kind of hop in and be the incredible host he can be, we all know that he's gonna be able to step up and do that. But Advil's kicked in for right now, so we're gonna keep it rolling. Ben, just kind of initial thoughts. I know it's in the last quarter of the season, but we talked last about some of the names that we were hoping to join the team. A number of the people we named ended up joining the team. What are your thoughts here? 3 quarters of the way through the season.
Well, I think Joe Girardi really needs to be fired.
Yeah.
So thankfully we're past that point. I like where the Phillies are at. I'm not all that upset about their 1-0 loss today, jumping way ahead. They're facing a good starter who does not have great stats, and they're pretty gosh darn banged up right now between Brandon Marsh and Kyle Schwarber and that other guy, I think his name's like Bryce Harper or something. And you lose 1-0 occasionally, I guess twice in 1 week. Not ideal. But I'm not concerned. You go 3-3 on that road trip. Things could be worse. I'm crying out if the Phillies go 2-4, but 3-3, stomach that, and take 2 of 4 from the Mets here, and maybe sweep the Reds at Citizens Bank Park. And I think the Phillies are in a very good place to make a solid postseason run.
No, I agree. I'm liking the position that they're in. I'm liking the schedule over the next month at least. Outside of the Mets, they've got a pretty favorable schedule coming up. 2 of 4 though, in this homestand, not going to be enough. I need them to win the series. I need 3 from the Mets. It looks like you're going to miss out on DeGrom and Scherzer this time around. You got to take advantage of that lineup, or that luck of not seeing them in the lineup. And you got to take 3 or 4. Sean?
Yeah, very similar to what Ben mentioned. I'm not really up in arms about this 1-0 loss. If anything, I'm more excited about how good Rangers looked over these last couple starts. You would have liked to have seen them take the last series against the Mets, but like you just mentioned, without DeGrom, without Scherzer, 2 out of 4 has to be the minimum amount of games you can take in this next homestand against them, and then keep beating up on the bad teams. You're going to lose a 1-0 game every once in a while. No, I'm still pretty optimistic. I still feel pretty good, just because of the schedule, the favorable schedule moving forward. But I would like to see them take 3 out of 4 this next series up against the Mets, beat up on some or take some series against some good teams that you're going to be playing later on.
Yeah. And to bring up Ranger Suarez, you mentioned, he is perhaps my favorite Phillies pitcher since Roy Halladay. Like the way the way he works the strike zone is nothing short of masterful. By the end of the game, he'll have like 2 or 3 inches on each side of the plate. He's got that sinker coming inside to righties, and it cuts back across to the inside of the plate. And the umpire just gives it every time because it's so deceptive coming out of his hand. And you look at, what he's done over the past several years. And last year he started as a reliever. He was a 2-pitch pitcher, right? He had his sinker and he had his changeup, and that was all he threw. And now, pretty late in 2022, he is throwing 6 pitches. He added 4 new pitches to his arsenal.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was throwing the slider a little bit. Now he throws the slider somewhat frequently. He added just out of nowhere. He added a cutter recently that is has slightly faster than the slider, has a little bit less bite. He has the curve. He has the 4-seamer that he throws now with some real conviction, and of course he has the changeup and the sinker. And God, it must be uncomfortable standing in on someone like Suarez, especially from the left side, but even on the right side, because you never know what's coming, and he can throw any of his pitches in any count anywhere in the strike zone.
No, seriously. And on top of that, I know you and Phillies SI touched on it. Like, it will be a crime if he doesn't win a Gold Glove.
Oh my God.
Like he's forcing some of the most ground balls back to the mound, and he's just making plays all over the inside of the infield that you haven't seen a pitcher make in red pinstripes here in a while.
Yeah. I mean, take this with a grain of salt, because advanced fielding stats are notoriously finicky, and they're even more notoriously finicky when they are over small sample sizes, like, any pitchers will be. But over the last, 4 years, there are 3 players that have more defensive runs saved than Ranger Suarez. 2 of those people have double Suarez's innings, and one of them has 100 more innings than Suarez. If you look at the stat that defensive run saved is based on, range factor, which is basically just like how many plays a guy is making, Ranger Suarez makes on average over his career 2.74 plays a game, I believe. The average major league pitcher makes 1.47. That's an extra, 1.25 outs per 9 inning. Like that is unheard of for a pitcher since the days of Greg Maddux, who won 18 Gold Gloves. And I feel pretty confident in saying that Ranger Suarez may actually be the best fielding pitcher of his generation.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, Ranger's a boy of mine. I'm a big Ranger Suarez guy. He was the Talkin 2 and 5 2021 player. We kind of brought back Castellanos in the second half here, but he was the guy that we take responsibility for in 21. And all the hot takes requests that different, baseball podcasts or MLB accounts put out there, I always hopped in there and I was like, look, Ranger may end up being the second best or the best pitcher on this Phillies staff at the end of the year. Still a stretch, especially with how phenomenal Nola's pitching right now, and Wheeler's always gonna put up some great stuff. But look, 5 of his last 6 starts, 1 or less earned run, and 6, and going at least 6 innings in each of them. You can't be mad at that, Sean.
No, I mean, when we brought Syndergaard along, he jumped right into that 3rd starting spot. I mean, just for that week, in the rotation. And we were talking about, at what point is he going to be jumped over by Gibson? But I mean, really, you're talking about when is Ranger going to get bumped up in the rotation, right? He keeps playing like this. We're going to be talking about at what point is he starting in a playoff series potentially? Like,
oh yeah,
he is the 3 starter.
Yeah,
yeah,
oh,
he's got to be. He's definitely one of my favorite pitchers to watch. I mean, if he's playing a game or if he's starting that night, I mean, I'm probably more excited to watch him than anybody else on our pitching staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Because with Wheeler, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a blazing fastball and a nasty slider. With Nola, he's got good command and a fantastic sinker, and he's going to get a curveball. But Ranger, he's a grab bag. He's going to be, he's going to be dominant, but you don't know what's going to be the strikeout pitch that night, whether it's going to be the changeup or the sinker or the slider. And he's got 3+ pitches. And frankly, if, I could still wear Phillies jerseys without my Stasi man showing up and, shooting me with a sniper rifle, Ranger Suarez would be the next Phillies jersey that I bought.
No doubt. And I kind of want to touch on, we touched on Gibson and Syndergaard there a little bit. Ben, do you think that Caleb Cotham has been doing something the past couple of weeks, working with these guys with their off-speed pitches? Because I think it was you that touched on it, and I had mentioned it as well watching Syndergaard's last start, where it looks like there is just some serious tail on these off-speed pitches from specifically those three guys. It looks like he's been working. I don't know. Do you think he's been working on them specifically with the off-speed pitches? Because they've got some nasty movement, and I would love to see the spin rate over the past three starts on these guys compared to the first 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coffin is working with a lot of guys individually. I think it's a little bit more piecemeal, but Syndergaard is definitely someone who, needs to improve his off-speed pitches now that he doesn't have a 99-mile-an-hour fastball anymore. And frankly, I love Syndergaard's curveball. I think it's probably his best pitch right now. It's got a great shape and really good bite. And, I'm not going to say I watched him religiously with the Angels, but, I would occasionally view some of his highlights. And his curveball looks great with the Phillies. His last two starts in God, what was it? I think it was Washington, and no, Washington was his first start. Either way, Cincinnati the other night was really impressive. I liked what I saw. I think he and Gibson make a phenomenal back into the rotation. And if Eflin ever comes back, it's going to be really interesting to see who slots into the bullpen, because the Phillies have a surplus of arms right now, and that's a big thing heading into the end of the season. Yeah. God, Phillies with good starting pitching. What year is it?
No, Sean's been very vocal saying that the Phillies have a top 5 bullpen. He's been saying it for months now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think if Eflin does come back, which is a question for a totally different day, where does he fit in this? And it, not even in the rotation as far as relief goes, as far as I have no idea, because you said there's a surplus, and we haven't ever had this issue. Not an issue. We've never had this before to know, what to exactly expect with this ball club.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other really good things I think that Caleb Cotham has helped these starters with is going deeper into ball games, which, of course, is helping the starters, but is also in turn helping the bullpen because they're less taxed for the next day. And, you can toss out like 2 or 3 relievers every night max. And that means everyone's more rested. Everyone's going to pitch better. You're going to need to use, fewer high leverage guys less often. And it's a feedback loop, and it's going to help the Phillies in the long run, no matter which way you look at it.
Oh yeah, and Ken in the comments hopped in here saying the more Thor pitches, the better he's going to get. And Ben, I'd like to get your take on this, because I've been saying it all along. Like, you need to be patient with this guy. Not only is he coming from West Coast to East Coast, and he had an extra long break in between his last start with the Angels and his first start with the Phillies, and he's working with a whole new pitching coach, and he's working with a whole new catcher. Like, he's a guy that I said right away, like, I would not be very surprised at all if he struggles in his first couple starts and then settles into a good role here. And I mean, much in talking to him 5 fashion, we just hit the nail on the head with that, because we're just so damn good. And that's why you're seeing a real efficient Thor. And I think he's only going to get better. And look, every pitcher is going to have a few bang up starts every now and then. I mean, look, Wheeler just got shelled in his last game. So I'm not saying he's going to be phenomenal the rest of the season, but I see a much more consistent Syndergaard coming, and you're going to just see more and more of closer to what you saw in that last start with the Reds, going very efficiently into the 7th or 8th inning, giving up 2 to 3 runs. What are your thoughts on his early starts here? And if you think that, those things that I mentioned really did play a role?
Yeah, I mean, Syndergaard, he's no 09 Cliff Lee. Like, you're not going to get, 3 complete game shutouts to start his Phillies career. He's also, in addition to, moving time zones and moving catchers and moving coaching staffs, he's also working back from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
And with the Angels, he was working on 6 days rest every single start, because they were running a 6-man rotation. You had the off day in the middle most of the time. So it's a big adjustment. And I think, it's not a super big news yet, because frankly, it isn't big news. But Syndergaard's start initially was scheduled for Sunday, and it was pushed back to Monday to get him that extra day's rest and make sure that he is, healthy and his arm is staying loose, because it's hard, coming back with a new ligament. it's not an easy transition. And, the more Syndergaard pitches in Philly, the more he gets accustomed to pitching to JT Realmuto, the more he gets accustomed to working with Caleb Cotham, he's going to do better. He doesn't have a lot of innings on his arm either, so I'm not that worried about him throwing himself out.
So he's not dodging the Mets?
No, no, he's not. I really don't believe he is. I genuinely just don't think he cares. I don't think that's something that baseball players are really worried about.
Not at all. No, exactly. Sean, what question do you have for the guru himself?
Oh, God.
Oh, gee. No, I mean, I would just like to add, Jake, you were spot on with Syndergaard and the progression he's been making over these last couple starts. I thought we would see something a little sooner, but it certainly has taken him just an extra start or two to really get in the swing of things. I mean, I like what I seeing him. I mean, I think he'll be really great, especially at like the back end of the starting rotation. But let's see.
Yeah, and I mean, his 74th pitch last game was 95 miles per hour. Still, like we said, not that 99 that he was throwing, but he was deep in that game, still having the same velocity that he had in the first inning.
Yeah, so, 3 times through the order.
Oh, yeah. And I love that. Sure, the 77th pitch was a poor off-speed pitch that got taken over the fence, but I was really happy with the efficiency that he was pitching with the velocity. It was staying the same throughout the whole entire start. He had some nasty movement on his off-speed pitches that game, and Ryan said it well. He's kind of reinventing himself, more sinkers and breaking stuff than what he was throwing younger, where he was just blowing things right by people.
Yeah, I mean, I like having Syndergaard at the back of the rotation. He's a little bit volatile, but over in the aggregate, he's someone who's going to provide you with good value. And really, I care a lot more about the aggregate than I care about the day to day.
No, 100%. 100%. So we were talking about how we're, all the things that we're right about. And one of the things that we like to claim right now is Nick Castellanos. So, Ben, is he back?
I'm not going to put the full back label on him just yet.
No, I think
he's still working through some things. I'm liking what I'm seeing. He's staying on the ball a little bit more. His head is not flying out quite as much. He's taking more pitches. I'm liking what I'm seeing, especially in his follow through, because for the first 3 months of the season, I guess in April he was pretty good. From May through July, he was pulling off of every single breaking ball. And now, he's staying on it a little bit more, and he's driving the breaking balls to right field for the flare hits that he's been getting for the last 3 months. And he's pulling the fastballs through the hole to left field. And his BABIP is pretty high, which is a bit of a concern for me. He's getting a little bit lucky, and the power numbers are not quite there yet. But just via the eye test, he looks like he's on his way to being back. He's getting closer.
No, exactly. 301 with a 795 OPS over the last 28 days. And something in there is he only ground into 2 double plays in those 28 days.
Hallelujah. Only 2.
Zero in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, this was a guy that it seemed like was tailor-made for the offense. Oh, look, there's a little spark. We got runners on first and second with 1 out. And then, all right, Nick's up. Boom, double play, inning over. And so to see that, look, even just go down to 2 in a month span, 0 in the last couple weeks, that's positive stuff. And you kind of touched on his swing looks a lot better. He's keeping everything through the zone, his eye on the ball a little bit more. What does he need to do for you to give him that back status?
It's power. It's all power, because he hit a home run the other night. It was like 2 rows back into the stands, and I'm glad
in the Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, exactly. He hit a home run the other night in Philly as well, like a week ago into the Nationals during that whole home run barrage. But that's Castellanos. It's not flared singles to right. It's not a little liner through the hole. It's doubles down the right field line, and it's deep drives into left field. I'd like to see him hit another 8 or 9 home runs over the course of the season. Get his OPS up to like 760 by the end of September. Have a September that mirrors his last September. I don't need him to come out and slash 400, 500, 800. I just need him to be the Nick Castellanos of even 2019 or 2016 or something like that. Be an 850 OPS guy and do your job and once Harper gets back next year, be a DH who can hit 28 home runs and have an OPS of 850.
Yeah. Sean?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ben, it's been a while since you've been on the pod, and it's actually the first time that we've got a chance to talk. There's been a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot of different ways in which this ball club has gotten a lot better over the last couple of months since Girardi has been fired. A particular point of emphasis has been on how much better the defense has been. Any insight onto how all of a sudden this team is playing so much better D?
Yes, totally. It's all Bobby Dickerson, at least from my point of view. If you look at the Phillies' defensive stats from 2018 through 2021, you'll notice that they're pretty much well into the negatives every year but 2019. And 2019 was the one year that Bobby Dickerson was the Phillies infield coach. And after, a poor season with the Padres last year, where he was their bench coach, he got let go. And the Phillies were like, hey, you want to come fix our defense again? And lo and behold, Bobby Dickerson comes in, and all of a sudden, after 3 months of working with Alec Boehm and bringing in Gene Segura and working with Rhys Hoskins, you have a competent defense. And one thing I would like to see is I'd like to see Stott moved off shortstop once the Phillies have someone to replace him. I mean, right now there isn't anyone there, but I'd like to see them get Trey Turner in the offseason because Stott is a Gold Glove caliber second baseman. I think he's a fine shortstop, but he's about league average. If you have, Alec Boehm making the plays he needs to make at shortstop, at third base, you have Stott at second and Hoskins, also making the plays he needs to make at first base. And you get another competent middle infielder in there. That's solid. And you have Marsh in center field. You have the positions you need fielded. And frankly, Harper and right is just fine as well. So you have Boehm and Schwarber struggling to make plays. That's fine by me if they're the only ones.
Yeah, I mean, Stott has been extremely impressive defensively. And as of late, I mean, he's just been extremely impressive as a ball player. And he was one of the other guys I really want to touch on. Do you feel like this is just kind of a hot streak that we're seeing for him? Or do you really feel like this is the ball player that he's going to kind of mold and develop into?
So I do think he's definitely on a hot streak. But that being said, I think that he is 10 times the hitter that his stat line shows this year. I think, he's got great plate discipline. One thing that he's worked on all year has been his whiff rate, which if I pull that up, I think it's something like 98th percentile, 94th percentile, his whiff rate throughout the entire year, even back in April and May when he was really struggling. I mean, Stott, he's going to put the ball in play, and he's going to make solid contact. And he's a guy that I would love to have, batting fifth to, drive some guys in. And people say he's a leadoff hitter, and I like him as a leadoff hitter. He works good walks, but better than that is his ability to put the ball in play. And frankly, this year he's also gotten really unlucky. I don't have his BABIP off the top of my head, but I know that even during this hot streak, it's still pretty low. So I'm looking for him to really get a lot better next year. And it's the sort of guy who has a 13-year career, if an all-star appearance in there, toss a silver slugger in there, maybe toss in a gold glove. It's a solid 5-tool player. And I don't think he's ever going to win an MVP or anything or be a consistent all-star, but he's a really solid player, and I look forward to having him on the Phillies for a long time.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He's definitely on a hot streak here. 296 over the last 28 games, 28 days, 327 over the last 14 days. A little bit of a rough patch in the previous game. I know he didn't get the start today. They put Sosa out there, and Sosa did not have a Sosa game like he had the other night.
Sir.
But no, I'm really liking what I'm seeing in Stott. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with he's just going to be a well above average 5-tool player that is going to have a good long career with a couple all-star appearances and get some hardware on the mantle and just going to be a loved player in Philadelphia. Exactly the kind of guy that we really like around here.
Yeah, he seems grindy to me. I hope he works hard, and I don't know. I'm going to be sad to lose Gene Segura because he's also another guy that I think works hard and is really beloved in the clubhouse. And I'm not sure whether the Phillies are going to tender him an offer this off. I guess not tender him an offer. He has a club option for $14 million, and the Phillies will probably choose to decline that. But I like the middle infield of Stott and Segura. It's not perfect, but it's really solid. So I'm gonna be sad to see that go in the offseason, but I'm looking forward to getting it even better next year.
Yeah, there's just too many guys out there right now. I mean, and if one is going to cost $14 million, I mean, I like what I've seen out of a lot of different guys. I like the idea of being able to have such a different, giving guys rest when they need them and moving them around. But I mean, another predicament is we've got entirely too many potentially starting quality middle infielders. And again, I can't remember the last time that was an issue we had in the ball club, but I
mean, I am a little upset that Nick Maton has cooled off from his 10 plate appearances with a 2.5 OPS. It's come back down to earth a little bit.
You didn't think he was going to be the next Babe Ruth?
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to carry that OPS into October.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to settle for Barry Bonds instead.
Yeah, I guess.
His OPS, I think, is still around 900. Although after today, it may be a little bit lower. I think he may have worked a walk at some point. But I do like what I've seen from him. Another guy that's definitely beloved in the clubhouse, and he's always smiling as well. Which you can tell him and guys like Derek Hall are really having fun out there and bring a lot of good energy to the club, which I think is something that they've lacked since God knows when.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like since Girardi's gone, the whole energy, the whole vibes around the bullpen have completely changed. Not that they weren't rooting for each other and bring each other up. I mean, it was well documented that Castellanos is one of the guys that helped Bohm out when he had the whole, I hate the fucking place debacle. And, they all cheered Castellanos up when he was in his big slump. But it seems like you just got a whole different energy, a whole different vibe around the bullpen. I mean, around the dugout right now, with a bunch of young players getting their shots out there, playing well, and everybody's just vibing with each other.
Yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one of the biggest upgrades from Girardi. I mean, going from such a veteran players coach to somebody like Thompson that's going to bring some of these young guys up. They seem really happy to be here. They seem happy to be here. They seem excited and willing to take advantage of the opportunity that they're given. There's no Gregoriuses anymore that have been in the league for however many years and are kind of just showing up to work, towards the end. So, I mean, it's been exciting to see. It's been exciting to see people that look like they really want to play ball for the Phillies.
Mm-hmm. And I will say about Gregorius, I couldn't stand him as a ball player. He was awful. He was a no-tool player. He couldn't field. He couldn't hit for power. Couldn't get on base. But I will at least give him the benefit that he was good in the clubhouse, and I think he was pretty well beloved among the players, and has been for years by every club he's ever been in.
So do you think that he's got that Philly Rob's got any chance at NL Manager of the Year?
Well, it's either going to be him or Showalter. And frankly, I think it just depends on how well the Phillies finish. If they finish with 94 wins and sneak in as the fifth wild card, sure. I think it's a flip of the coin between Showalter and Thompson, because you get a comparison for Thompson where you don't for Showalter. Showalter has no control. Joe Girardi is the control for Thompson. Everyone knows what a bad shape the Phillies were in before. If the Phillies win 89 games and sneak in as the sixth wild card, I think it probably goes to Showalter. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. We were talking a lot about just different players on the middle infield and everything, but everybody saw that pretty gruesome looking Brandon Marsh injury, and then obviously that Schwarber sounds like he's going to be back Friday. They were saying into the left field spot. Whether that's a good thing having him out there defensively or not,
I think he'll probably DH. Left field for the weekend.
I did hear he's going to DH as well,
which is a shame because that means Hall is out of the lineup too. You can't have both him and Hoskins, but between Hall and Schwarber, I'd rather have Schwarber.
Yeah. No, and he was kind of being a little bit of small ball Schwarber right before his injury. We saw him bunt, a base hit, and he was starting to pile on with some doubles and some singles, not just that home runner bust kind of guy. But as far as the outfield goes, I know initial reports they haven't really fully gone over what the Brandon Marsh injury is, but I know at least very early on reports was that they don't think it's extremely severe, but he's bound to miss some time. You hate to even think about it, but is a guy like Odubel Herrera somebody they're
No,
going to look to bring back now?
absolutely not.
Thank
Goodness. Once you release a player, you don't bring him back. It's an organizational thing. It's not so much about
They better
common
not.
sense. It's just about, you don't want to look like you made the wrong decision. They have guys that they can bring up. One of the names I've heard talked about is Dalton Guthrie. And there was someone, I believe Simone Muzziotti was talked about, but he also had a season-ending knee injury.
Yeah.
So you think, oh God, where do you put Dalton Guthrie in the major league roster? Well, you move Muzziotti to the 60-day IL, and you bring up Dalton Guthrie to play the outfield. And he has played some center field in his career, so it's definitely a position that he's not too experienced with. But Vierling, as poorly as he's hitting right now, can handle the bulk of the center field duties while Guthrie provides some major league depth. He's been pretty good at AAA.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Vierling is still an above average defender, and he's been a guy that doesn't go on these blazing hot streaks, but he'll have a game or two here or there where he can have that Sosa game where he gets a couple RBIs and seems to be seeing the ball real well that night. So hopefully we can catch a little bit of that magic and just ride it out until Harper comes back. Obviously not into right field, but back into the lineup. Do you have any idea of when that might be? I know the owner John Middleton had said that September 1st is most certainly not out of the picture. Do you think that's about it?
Yeah, I think September 1st, the series against the Giants is the best shout. I've heard some people say September 4th. But frankly, I think he's just a few days away here from maybe a week away from going on a minor league rehab stint. And they really definitely want him to be very healthy before bringing him back. They don't want to bring in a half healthy, a 50% Bryce Harper to just stand in the lineup and, weekly hit some ground balls into the shift. They want him to be fully better because frankly, were it, the 70s, Harper would probably be back in the lineup already, but they want to protect their superstar. They want to make sure he's healthy next year. And if he does get hit in the hand again, they don't want it to be a career-ending injury.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Sean, you got anything else there in your notes for our man Ben?
No, I mean, just to piggyback off of the last couple comments. I mean, I know the Marsh injury looked really bad. He's got a bone bruise in his knee. I mean, which is a couple week injury, but he's got a sprained left ankle, and those are just so hard to figure out exactly how long you're going to be gone for because it doesn't sound bad, and sometimes it's not, but sometimes they're awful and they take forever to heal. And also they're definitely not going to want to make sure or not going to want to send Bryce out there just because of the nature of his injury until he's fully healed up, just because it's literally the contact is going to his hand, right? Anything that can re-injure that is going to put him out for another month and push him into the playoffs. So, I mean, the first is probably optimistic, but who really knows where he is in his, rehabbing it.
Yeah, I think within 5 days of September 1st is probably, either before or a little after is what we're looking at. But in good Harper injury news, I don't think he's going to get Tommy John surgery because a few weeks ago he declared for the World Baseball Classic, which is going to happen in March. And if he does get Tommy John surgery, it'll probably be late October after the Phillies are eliminated, or hopefully not in early October if the Phillies don't make the playoffs. But the timeline for a position player, you look at Rhys Hoskins, who had Tommy John surgery in September 2020 and was just barely back ready for opening day of 2021. So if Harper were to get Tommy John surgery in late October, he probably wouldn't be ready till May. And if he's planning on playing the World Baseball Classic, that means he doesn't look like he's going to get Tommy John. So hopefully his UCL will be healed and just about ready to go next year.
Yeah, that's just the inside stuff, that putting the puzzle pieces together that you don't find anywhere else than Ben Silver. I'll tell you what.
Oh, thanks. I guess I'm not going to claim all the credit. I don't remember where I heard that, but I'm not going to say I made that up.
Reading the tea leaves there, but no, like we're touching on a lot of postseason talk here in Philadelphia. if you're a betting man, which you may be, I've been known to place a few wagers myself. Regardless of what spot, are the Phillies ending their playoff drought?
Yeah, definitely. You look at a lot of the playoff measures of success. Like what percent odds the Phillies have to make the playoffs. I have Baseball Reference open another tab.
Yeah,
here.
no, Baseball Reference has them at 94 point something.
95.1, although that's not updated after today. And I think that is wildly optimistic. I think the Phillies have about a 75% chance to make it because they're a better ball club than both the Brewers or the Cardinals by a long shot. And their run differential speaks for itself. They are a good ball club, and unless the wheels fall off the bus and Harper doesn't come back and Schwarber is out for a long time and one of the starting pitchers gets injured, the club has positioned themselves well and they have an easy schedule going forward. I'm not worried. But something I actually wrote an article about that came out just an hour ago, and this is meant to be provocative, so hold on to your seats. But you should be rooting for the Phillies to lose just a few games, not a lot. But the 5 seed for the Phillies, the second wild card spot, is a death trap. If the playoffs finish, if the regular season ended today and the Phillies were in the 5th wild card seed, everyone knows they'd have to play the Braves, which would suck. Obviously, it would be worse to play the Braves than the Cardinals, who they would play in the 3 wildcard seed. All 3 of those games will be at the home team stadium.
Yeah.
So it's either 3 games in Atlanta if you finish as the higher seed, or 3 games in St. Louis if you finish as the lower seed. We've heard that narrative talked about before, but what hasn't been talked about as much is if the Phillies do manage to beat the Braves in the 5th seed, then they play the Dodgers. If they manage to beat the Cardinals in the 6th seed, then they play the Mets. And I would so much rather see the Phillies play the Mets. And the Dodgers, they've sucked in the playoffs for years, but they're still not someone I want to see the Phillies run into. And I think MLB needs to, do some realignment and fix this current setup that they have, so that it's not advantageous for a baseball team to lose games at the end of the season and finish in a lower seed, because the way it's constructed right now is horrible.
What's the shot they finish as the number 1 wild card spot?
I
don't like that.
10%. The issue is I do actually think that they're going to outplay the Braves throughout the end of the year. The Braves have a slightly tougher schedule, but my concern is that the Phillies are 6.5 games back. I don't know what is going on in the Braves Mets game right now, but 6.5 games is a lot to make up. I think that it's reasonable for them to expect them to make up 3 or 4. I think it's a long shot to reach 6.5. And a crazy stat that I had heard is that I believe the date is July 25th. And since that date, the Phillies, Mets, and Braves, when playing teams that aren't each other, when the Phillies, Mets, or Braves play teams that aren't the Phillies, Mets, or Braves, the teams combined have 2 losses. The Phillies have, they lost against Cincinnati today, so 3 losses. The Phillies have lost 1 game against Cincinnati and 1 game against Miami back about a week ago. And the Mets have lost 1 game as well. I don't remember against 2. And the Braves have not lost a game against the Phillies or the Mets since July. Since
a team not the Phillies or the Mets.
A team not the Phillies or the Mets. It's very complicated. It's a hard stat to speak. It's a lot easier to write out, but I hope I got my point across.
No kidding. They seem to kind of duke it out with each other. And I agree. I think it's a bit of a long shot for them to get that first wild card spot, but would love to see it. Like you said, home field advantage for the wild card round would be something needed, and we might actually see a sellout at the bank on a day other than opening day, which this city is dying for baseball to be back.
Well, I do actually have some insider info here, in that I have heard that I think pretty much every game this weekend is going to be a sellout. I don't know about the day game on Saturday because it's a doubleheader, but I have heard that there have already been like 37,000 tickets sold for just Friday alone.
I like that.
So, yeah, it's going to be packed this weekend. I can say that for certainty.
I like that. Yeah, I've got 4 tickets to Sunday's game. It's up in the air whether I can make it or not, but if I can't, it's going to a Phillies fan. That's for sure, right? Mm-hmm. We're not letting the Mets get in there at all.
No, sir.
But something I also wanted to talk to you about, because I know if anybody's going to know anything about this, it would be you. Why is bases loaded the Phillies' kryptonite?
bad luck. I mean, I'm not entirely certain what the exact stat is, and if you give me a minute here, I can probably find it.
I know they're
But
batting 177 with bases loaded in any situation, and I know with bases loaded and no outs, they have 0 hits.
yeah, I mean, I thought that would have to change after the first month or two of the season, and now that I think about it, I'm not going to be able to find this stat on the fly, figure out what their BABIP is in those situations. But just from the eye test and watching this team over the past few months, they're definitely getting a little bit unlucky. But they also just might be pressing too hard. It might be
I mean,
a youth problem. I don't know. There's I think it's a sample size issue, and I think it's a luck issue most likely. But other than that, I could not say.
Yeah, it's just so many opportunities that they can just either blow games wide open or put a significant comeback into a game. I mean, shoot, the Marlins game just last week, bases loaded, nobody out in the ninth, 0 runs. I mean, it's incredible how they just can't get any productive contact with these balls. They're not getting a pop fly outside of the sack fly last night's game, and I think that was another talking 2-on-5 calling it before it happened there. I feel like they never have a sack fly. It's like you might get a lucky. They've been hitting well with runners in scoring position and 2 outs over the past couple games, but you'll see a guy on third with 1 out, and you're never seeing a fly ball to the outfield. You're seeing a strikeout or a ground out.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but I think it may also. I again don't have the stats in front of me. I think that may be some confirmation bias because you expect things to go wrong and you're going to remember the times when it goes wrong more often than not. But like I said, I don't have the stats. Maybe they really do suck with runners on third and 1 out, but I think mostly it's the bases loaded thing that's really killing them.
No, that's the one that comes to mind most definitely, and that one that there are stats that back it up that they just kind of suck in those positions, and that's going to need to change if they're going to want to have significant postseason success.
The Phillies rank 9th in the National League in sacrifice flies. They have 29. So I don't know if it's a little lacking, but at least they're not bottom.
Slightly above average. I mean,
slightly below average. 9
below average technically.
I don't know. Still not great. Would like to see them do better. But then again, I would also like to see them win 160 games. Probably not going to happen. Can't have everything.
Not 162?
I'll take a few losses sprinkled in there. Say they get 1 in May, and I'll give them like 1 in August at some point. Just for fairness' sake.
That's fair. That's fair. Sean?
I mean, I think it's funny that there's been a lot of issues that the baseball club had, about halfway through the year, and they seem to be doing a fantastic job at fixing just about all of them. I don't know if they're listening to us complain and bitch and moan about not being able to do a damn thing with bases loaded, but that is the one thing that they seem to just not been able to have right the ship at all, whenever that occurs.
No, it's pretty remarkable with a team with these names on it, especially just the amount of times they've been shut out over this past week. What is it? 3 of their last 7 or 4 of their last 7? It could be even worse.
That they've been shut out. Well, they were shut out.
Yeah, 3 of their last 7 games.
Yeah, twice in New York and once in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
no, they were shut out. Were they shut out twice in New York, or did they lose one of those games? 1-2.
They lost 1-0 and 6-0.
They lost. Yeah, what? Florida, or I guess Miami now. I still.
Yeah. So 4 of their last 7 games they've been shut out.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's unacceptable with a lineup with the names in here. And I know you wrote a great article about it, which was funny. I literally was talking to someone the day before about what they're going to do with Hall moving forward. And then, of course, you write an article like, is Hall the next Matt Stairs of the Philadelphia Phillies?
That was a fun one.
Oh, yeah. Is that kind of what we should expect for Hall, just being a great pinch hitter, or hopefully a great pinch hitter, with him being basically blocked from the starting lineup, with him only having that first base, playability?
So Hall is a really interesting case for me. I think the empirically smart thing to do here would probably be to trade him this offseason while his value is at its highest. But I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to platoon Hall and Reese at first base next year. And Reese, hits lefties, and Hall hits righties. And, Reese will also probably get a good portion of the righties too. But I think that they want to figure out, hey, like, do we have someone on our hands that can replace the value of Rhys Hoskins for cheap? Because Hoskins is going to command, 4 years, $85 million on the open market. Scott Boras is his agent, and Scott Boras knows that the Phillies value him higher than any other team because of his clubhouse presence. Hall it might just be value-wise, it might be the smart thing to make him the starter, and maybe even to trade Hoskins this offseason. It's not going to happen, but it's a really interesting case because both of those guys are not going to stick around forever.
No, that's for sure, and it's crazy. We're joking about having a surplus of arms, and now we can actually talk about a surplus of bats here and there, and you add the universal DH. We thought, all right, great. That's something we're completely not used to. We'll definitely find somebody to squeeze in there. And now we're trying to figure out how we can get everybody in there because we've got too many hot hitters right now. I know Sean touched on it last week. We had 5 players batting above 300 over the past almost a month now. That's great.
Yeah, I mean we talked exactly the same thing about what the hell do we do with Derek Hall. Because he's probably not going to stick around regardless of, whether he gets traded or not or whatever's going on. We just don't have enough at bats. We don't have enough positions. It seems like, everybody seems to be taking their turns, getting hot at the plate. Defense has been, fairly stellar.
Keith Hernandez approved.
Yeah. Seal of approval.
There's definitely going to be some tough decisions to make all of a sudden this offseason as far as who's going to be the future of this ball club.
Yeah. No, it could go in a number of different directions. I think obviously the staples of Harper, and obviously you locked in Castellanos and Schwarber now for a good deal of time, and then you got Stott and Real Muto. Outside of that, it seems like there's going to be a fair amount of question marks in the position players, at least. I mean, Ben, do you disagree or?
No, I mean, I don't envy Dave Dombrowski's job right now. On the one hand, he has a huge budget. We know John Middleton wants to win, and he cares about this team, which is shocking for an owner. Not that I like any owner, but if you're going to have a good one, John Middleton's the guy to have. I don't know. I think that there's definitely going to be some turnover this offseason. I think Segura's probably gone.
Yeah.
I think that there's a low probability chance, but there's a chance, knowing Dombrowski, that Hall or Hoskins is gone. Eflin is probably gone. Gibson is gone. There are going to be a lot of guys moving on, and I think that they're probably going to make a trade for a starting pitcher this offseason, and I think they're probably going to sign a new shortstop.
Yeah. Is Bohm your long-term answer at third base?
I think he is proving that he can be a third baseman. I don't know.
There we go.
We're about Bohm guys. I don't know about long-term just yet. I really like him. But, he needs to – I'd give him one more year there to see if he can play below average defense and be an above average hitter. If he can have an OPS of 800 and, play, poor defense, but enough to keep him in the league,
Would you say his defense has been poor this year?
Yeah, his defense, even recently, it's still not great. But the thing is, he's making the plays that he needs to make, and that's all I care about. As long as, you're not losing 20 runs a year on defense, you lose 3 to 5. In the end, I don't care if you're above average on offense.
All right. Now, as far as our high-end prospects go, is there any chance that we're going to see any of the prospects come up this season?
Griff McGarry, I like the thought of him coming up and being David Price for the 2008 Rays this postseason. He could be a really special arm in relief, just coming into a big game. That said, the Phillies don't really need bullpen help, but if one of the big guys gets injured, who knows if he's someone they'll need. Painter and Abel are not going to make their debut this year. I think it's plausible that one of them could theoretically win the starter job at opening day next year. If you have Ranger, you have Nola, you have Wheeler not locked up, you trade for a starter, and then you let Abel, Painter, Falter, and Sanchez battle it out for the 5th spot. I don't think, and McGarry too, for what it's worth. I think that there's a pretty good chance that one of them starts the year in the Phillies rotation next season. And it'll also be Nola's last year too. So if, one or two of them really impress, you could see the Phillies let Nola go.
Wow.
which I don't think is likely, but again, is possible.
Yeah. Pretty crazy stuff here. Sean, what you got?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I'm just going to wait and see exactly as far as what kind of off-season moves this ball club makes. I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm too well versed on any of our prospects. Certainly not pitching prospects. I'm certainly just excited to see what happens as the rest of the season goes on, and then, I mean, leave it up to the professionals to figure out exactly what this ball club looks like next season.
Yeah. No, we touched on. They got some great building blocks to build around, and a lot of young players that I'm excited to see how they continue to develop. And I mean, shoot, Brandon Marsh. We talked a lot about that trade. He's only 24.
Yeah,
and they made it very clear.
35.
Yeah, they made it very clear that he's going to be their everyday center fielder, and they've got 5 years of club control on him. So he's a guy I don't see going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, they traded.
Candidate.
Yeah, that Ohapi for Marsh trade, that's a prospect for prospect swap. As much as Marsh already is a major league player, they're not expecting anything from him next year. What they want is him to work with Kevin Long in the offseason, fix the holes in his swing, and come back and strike out less and hit a few more taters and play great defense in center field.
I like that. I mean, he's another Gold Glove prospect out there with his range and his speed and his glove. He's going to be a guy that fans really like out there, and he seems to be making a considerably less boneheaded decisions as Odubel was making over the past number of years. Possibly the dumbest player in Major League Baseball.
I don't think that's difficult.
No. I believe that you could pull anybody and they would make smarter baseball decisions than Odubel Herrera. So as we're coming to the end of this episode, I know I didn't give you guys any kind of preface or time to think of one, so it doesn't have to be your absolute favorite, but what is a memory of this season thus far that you think back and is one of, if not your favorite moment of the season?
Girardi getting fired.
I was sleeping when the news came out. My dad knocked on my bedroom door. I've been living at home this summer until I move out to my place in September. He's like, Ben, wake up! Joe Girardi's gone. I'm like, oh my god! Just instant adrenaline rush from 9 a.m. or whenever it was announced he got fired.
Just the last couple of weeks were dragging so slowly of his tenure here, where it was like, this is such an obvious fix here. Like, when are they going to do it? Are they going to do it with a manager as high profile as Girardi? But he's clearly not getting the job done. And that was just elation to hear he was gone.
Yeah. For me, it's a pretty specific memory just because of where I was at that moment. But it was the Stott walk-off home run. I was actually I was playing I have an amateur baseball league that I play in the summer, and I was pitching that day, and I'll be honest, I got fucking shelled. I gave up every extra base hit that you could possibly imagine. I didn't walk anyone, struck out 4 dudes, but everyone who didn't strike out, pew! I mean, it was like a fucking cruise missile. And I'm just walking out of there. I've been sort of following the game a little bit on my phone. It's I saw the Harper Grand Slam. I saw them come back, and then I turned my phone on and they were losing. And I'm just a wreck. It's just geez, I can't believe I just get shelled. The Phillies are going to lose here. And Rob Thompson's new manager, and it's not going to work out with him either. And I pop, a stream open on my phone. And 3 minutes later, Stott hits the walk-off home run, and it was very emotional for me. I was sitting in my car screaming like Ron Burgundy in that scene in Anchorman, where it's he's on the phone. I'm in a glass cage of emotion. It was quite a moment.
Hey, well, we share a moment because Sean and I were actually at that game, and we went absolutely nuts.
It was pretty bonkers. Jake, I was leaving that one for you. Sorry.
I appreciate that. And then I've got to put it up there just because I haven't seen or felt emotion like this in a game. But that last win over Alcantara in Miami, that was so cool to see this team come back and hit a guy around in the 8th inning and closed it out in the ninth, and just to see how excited they were, and for that to be like one of the wins you can look back at this year and be like, man, they played some good baseball at the end of that game. That was really cool too. But the stop walk-off has got to be it, because Sean and I were out there. We were actually typically we're on the first baseline, but we went over to the third baseline, and we're going just nuts watching that game.
Freaking out.
Oh, go 2 outs, 2 strikes, 2 on, game over.
Yeah. Doesn't get any better than that. Down a run too.
Exactly. No, it doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't get much better than you, Ben. It really doesn't.
Guys. Yeah, it's always a pleasure coming on here. I've said it enough times, but I love talking to you guys.
No, we love having you, and for all the listeners that have been tuned in, I've actually had 3 or 4 texts from people like, hey, have to hop off. Great show so far. I gotta follow this guy. Like he's incredible. So I've had multiple people text me while we're live here, just saying, oh, sorry, I have to check out here, but let Ben know, like I'm gonna be following him, because this guy really knows his stuff. So other than just obviously at Ben H. Silver, as you can see there, where can they go to see you, to see all your articles, and to get some of the best Phillies content that you can get, outside of Talkin 215?
Well, if you're a Phillies fan, come check us out at si.com/MLB/Phillies, Inside the Phillies, Inside the Phillies, Phillies SI on Twitter. Thanks, Jason. And if you want some more generalized MLB knowledge, we just launched some coverage of the Houston Astros last month. And on Tuesday, we launched our coverage of the Chicago Cubs. So Phillies, si.com/MLB/Astros and /Cubs, and Inside the Cubs, Inside the Astros on Twitter. Come check us out. It's not as fun as Inside the Phillies, but you're gonna get some good goddamn coverage there. We have a great team. And, I'm proud to be working with, Kate Kistner and Lorna Moore, Alex Carr, Leo Morgenstern, the Phillies, my Phillies teammates.
No, incredible staff over there at Phillies SI. I mean, I shout you guys out all the time, just because we obviously talk all 4 major sports here in Philadelphia, only really talking 3 with the dumpster fire that the Flyers are. But Phillies SI is pretty much the first place I go to get my insight into the Phils. Quick question, though, about the Astros direction that you guys have gone there. You can typically smash the notification bell. For that, do you smash the notification trash can?
Yeah, you actually have to get a baseball bat, and if you hit your phone with like a right angle, some of them have like a new magnetic sensor in it, and it'll buzz on your shirt too. And
okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Aroldis Chapman's tuning into all that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, Ben, now again, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. For anybody that missed the show, we're going to be posting the audio of this show on our normal podcast. We're also going to be recording an Eagles episode here in the coming days to go over the last preseason game and looking ahead to this game, talking a little joint practice with the Browns this week, and how much we still despise Deshaun Watson, and hoping that Jordan Davis comes over the middle and kills him. Sean, final thought.
Just thank you again for Ben for stopping on by. That it was great. I look forward to seeing the Phillies score some damn runs this week. We're going to be talking about
yes, please. Could use that.
about them getting back on the ball this week. And hopefully we're also talking about them beating up on the Mets.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you, guys.
My quick bold take is they're going to take both doubleheader games on Saturday.
I like the sound of that. I like it a lot. And I don't know who the Mets are sending out against Bailey Falter, but I don't think it's anyone particularly good.
No, and I mean, it is Bailey Falter, though. But either way.
We'll see.
Either way. No, Ben, thank you. Sean, always a pleasure, my friend. Everybody definitely check us out on social media at Talkin215. That's Talking Without a G. We're going to be doing a Phillies ticket giveaway here in the coming days. So definitely keep an eye out on that. We do a number of ticket giveaways. We got a couple more to round out this season. So definitely check us out on there. Like Ben said, follow him at Ben H. Silver and at Phillies SI for the rest of his incredible team over there. Follow Sean at Sean Zebley for very handsome man that also has some great takes as well. And with that, we're out of here.
Peace.